Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about them?
So I just wanted to stitch this video with a memory from my childhood. I was probably about 8, in between the age of 8 and 10, and my parents and I were living in the home that my mom and her siblings grew up in at the time, and I was in my room. It was my parents had gone to bed. I know they were asleep because I could hear them snoring. And mom, dad, I know y'all may watch this, and you were snoring. But anyway, so I heard footsteps walking across my room floor, like the creak, creak, creak of heavy footsteps walking across my room floor. And I was terrified because should have been just the three of us in here. I was so scared. And so whoever it was, whatever it was, made it to my bed and placed their hand on my side. Not hard, but just with enough pressure to let me know it was there. And I was terrified. I stopped breathing. I was so scared. I don't even think I went to sleep that night. I think I passed out because I wasn't breathing at all. That's how I managed to get to sleep that night. I fainted from not breathing, but that happened and I was terrified. I mean, no harm or anything like that, but oh my God, it was something else.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about that moment?
Okay, so I don't really like to talk about stuff like this on the internet, but I figure maybe this can help somebody in the future. And I'm gonna talk kind of low because I'm at my mom's house. She's in the next room, and she doesn't really want me to talk about these things. Also, there's people upstairs that's walking around, so if you hear footsteps, that's what it is. But one time I was working, this was a few years ago when I moved to New York, I was working a catering shift, and there was this guy who was a musician, and he was like, I don't know, playing the drums or something, and he came up to me, started talking to me, whatever, had a casual conversation, but the first thing he said to me was, "Are you a singer?" And so I was like, I sing, I'm a poet, whatever, whatever. So he invited me to his cookout celebration type of thing where he also had performances. He asked if I'd want to perform. I said, okay, maybe sure. So I end up going, and on my way there, okay, so me and my mom have this connection. I call it a spiritual connection because I feel like whenever I'm about to experience something or if I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, she'll always call me. So on my way there, she was calling me, so I answered, but the phone call kept dropping. So anyway, I told her I was on my way to an event, whatever, whatever. So I get to the event, and I see the guy, and then he's telling me how he was a mystic. He may have mentioned that when I first met him too, but I don't know. I just know at the event that's when he mentioned it. So I was like, okay, he's a mystic. Okay. I didn't really understand the extent of what this meant, right? So he has the event, there's food and stuff there, and he's like, oh, do you want some soup? I made this soup. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll have some soup. Growing up, my parents would always say you can't eat everyone's food, and also my mom would always be very adamant about being aware of what people are talking about when you're eating, because you're consuming the words, you're consuming the energy, you're consuming whatever it is that they're saying. So we started talking about spiritual stuff, and he was saying how people had tried to do spells and stuff on him before, and how one time people tried to do a spell where there was a chicken bone in his house or something that he found. So he said that someone tried to cast a spell or something on him with a chicken bone. Didn't really think anything of it, but while we were having this conversation, I had this strong feeling of deja vu because everything in the scene seemed very familiar, and I thought it to myself wow, I'm having deja vu right now. So anyways, later on, I go home. The next day, I wake up, I have a sty on my eye, and that was odd because that rarely happens. But what's crazier is even earlier that day, I went to Stop and Shop, and I got one of those individual apple pies, those little, I don't know what the brand is, Red Table or something, and there was a chicken bone in my apple pie, bro. A chicken bone. So yeah, not even the end of the story, but crazy.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience?
Okay, yeah, I've been waiting on this moment. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the creepiest experience I had. This when I was probably 4 years old, back in Mobile, Alabama, back in the early '80s. It was hurricane season, and this particular night, The hurricane was coming through and knocked all the power out. And my grandmother at the time, she always made us sit down, and we had to just sit in the dark room, just sit in the middle of the room, don't do nothing. We couldn't play cards, we couldn't play none of our toys. We just had to sit there and just stare at each other. Okay, so me and my twin sister, my grandmother had went in the kitchen, I guess to get us something to eat or drink. I can't remember. I know she went into the kitchen. So me and my twin sister, being bad like we always was, we jumped up and we wanted to see how bad it was raining outside. So we go look out the window, and we were just like, oh look, we were just looking at how the wind was going crazy, the rain was going everywhere, and so we looked down the street and we saw this light, like two lights just walking up the street. And we was like, that's strange because all the power was out. But why is the light? It was kind of flickering. So me and my twin was like, what is that? And so as it was getting closer, we saw this this woman. It was a white woman. She had a white dress on. She was very, very pale. She had long, dark black hair, and her eyes was just real dark. And she had like two midgets. No, I kid you not. There was two male midgets beside her. And they was dressed in black, and they was holding candles. And so they was walking. They was just all walking beside each other. Just kept walking straight. And me and my twin was like, that's weird. We even for 4 years old, we know when the wind blow the candle, when the wind blow a candle would go out. But we was like, why they like? That's interesting. We just kept staring at it like, wow, that's crazy. So my brother, he was 3 years old. He was probably like 7. He's like, what y'all looking at? So he came behind us, and my brother saw it too, and he got scared. He's like, whoa! He made some kind of noise that got my grandmother attention. So as me and my sister still looking, the lady and the two men was walking forward. The candles the candles did not go out, just flickering, but it would not go out. And as they get closer to the house, the woman turned her head and looked at us. And when she did that, me and my twin was like, we was frozen, we was scared. My grandmother, she came behind us like, what y'all looking at? And when she saw us, she was like, Jesus! She snatched us by the back of our collar. She snatched us by the back of our shirts, and I mean almost choked us, snatched us out, threw us on the floor, and said, y'all get the praying. She started fussing at us because she said, I told y'all to look out that window. Y'all better hope they don't come to this house. So she made us get the praying. I was so scared. So we was praying, and the lady and the two midgets, they just kept on down the street. But that was the scariest experience I could have experienced at 4 years old.
Tell me what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about them.
Okay, so basically, I'm like 7 years old, right? And I think I'm like 7. And I used to live in this old, like, apartment complex in Norwalk, Connecticut. And so just for you to imagine, like, this is the front door. I just walked in. There's a long ass hallway. And at the end of the hallway, there's a room. And there's a big ass window. So I'm just walking around the house, just doing what kids do. And I look out the window and I see something. And I'm like, wait, what am I looking at? I look a little closer. I'm walking a little closer to it. And I see an elephant draped in like purple silk and gold, like fabric, and has like kind of like gold just like on it and stuff. And I'm like, what am I looking at right now? And I'm starting to get freaked out. The elephant is like moving, and it's mind you, I lived on the second floor of this apartment. It's tall enough where like its eye is just staring out into the window. Like I can just see the eye, and I'm freaking out. And I call my brother over. I'm like, bro, do you see this? And he said, yeah, I see it. I see it. And to this day, like, we still talk about it from time to time. And we're like, bro, we, like, saw, like, an elephant. We're in Connecticut. There's no elephants. So I'm like, what the fuck was I seeing? And, like, what was, like, I just can't comprehend, like, why that happened or, like, whatever reason I saw that. But, yeah, we still think about it to this day. And that's probably, like, the weirdest thing that I've encountered. Can't explain it.
Tell me what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life and why you still think about them.
The year was 2001. My family took a big hit that year. My aunt passed away, my grandfather passed away, and my great aunt passed away. My grandmother's sister passed away. So we took a big hit that year. I live in a family house. The house is still in the family to this day. So I was in middle school, and my two cousins, they were in high school. Their high school was right down the street. from my middle school. My cousin was having her son's first birthday party at my house. So she said when her and Chanel get out of school, that's my other cousin, they were going to meet me so that they could both go with me back to my house so that she could decorate and prepare for her son's birthday party, which would have been the next day, that Saturday. They met me all, that Friday after school. So we're all in there decorating, talking, doing all of that, and then we hear like a knock at the door. Not a faint knock, but like a real knock. It was loud enough that we knew it was a knock. None of us was questioning was someone at the door. We knew someone was at the door. So I go open up the door. No one's there. Mind you, we were in the living room decorating. So it wasn't like we were downstairs in the basement, upstairs, and it took somebody some time to come to the door, and maybe that person, just walked away. We were right there. That person would have never had a chance to leave off the porch without someone seeing that person leave off the porch, and it would have been me because I was the one that opened up the door. But no one was there whatsoever. Freaked us the fuck out. So once they were done decorating, my cousin Chanel called her mom, and her mom came to pick both of them up. I was scared as shit because I was in there by myself because my people wasn't home from work yet. So I had to stay in there by my damn self until my people got home from work. Scariest shit ever.
Tell me, what's the creepiest experience you ever had in your life?